Days from 1 to 3 on the David Paul Blumenshine Show at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Why do I say we need every one of you? Well, we do. You can call in today at 309-451-9299. You can also text us at 309-807-1600. That's 309-807-1600. We need you. We need you desperately to get involved. I know you're hearing it out there on the airways, whether it's from Levin, Shapiro, Beck, Bongino, the people who actually are our celebrity week. They have been sounding this gong for many months. Folks, it's real. We've got to stand up. I know my friend Darren Bailey talks about it always when he is addressing the people that he encounters from the north to the south to the east of and west in Illinois. He also has plenty of people that are tuned into his Darren Bailey dailies on Facebook. This is real. What we are experiencing, what the governor has put forth now it's it. They are going to do it again. I am a firm believer of that. They don't have justification. They don't have the data. They don't have the science to back it up, but they're going to do it. I've already been out in public, and I'm sensing that the people who are willing to go ahead and remask are already in the process of remasking. The people who are being really shamed into getting the vaccination are starting to get it. And once again, we've said it over and over and over again here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We believe if you and your doctor, or if you're someone who is in that demographic of the elderly or comorbidities with immune deficiencies, you need to get a vaccination. However, we don't believe that vaccinations or masks should be mandated. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want to get vaxxed, get a vaccination. We live in the land of the free. We believe in freedom and liberty. However, that's not what the governor is doing. This is not about protecting people. That has been proven out. You can look at the statistics. There has been nothing done in the state of Illinois, or even many other states, just not Illinois, that truly is about protecting people. Look at our inner cities. We've got so much to talk about today, but I do want to drop this in real quick. Kat's across the way.
Yes, I am.
Kat threw me for a little bit here. I started to sit behind her board. I was getting ready to go live with you guys. She called, she sent me a text message, said that she was running a little behind, ran into some traffic out on the interstate. She said there's a lot of people out there with boats, hauling, traveling. The interstate traffic is busy. So it goes to show you that people aren't slowing down their lives. I do sense that. I do sense that more people are saying, you know what?
And I think there is a more resistance, especially not even just in the U.S. Have you seen, like, in the U.K. and all of these people, they've got these protests and signs, and there is going to be a protest outside of the McLean County Health Department. I'll get you guys more information. I believe it's going to be Tuesday at 2 p.m. Don't quote me. Let me go double check that. But there's going to be a protest here locally, and you guys need to come out and stand out and stand up, because we need you. We need the City's Legion. We need people who aren't afraid of what your friends are going to think. And I know this is going to be really tough, and Darren Bailey said it in his Darren Bailey Daily on Facebook, that you might have to find a new job. I just talked to a teacher. We're going to meet up hopefully and chat a little bit, but she left her job. She was the special education teacher, and she said enough is enough. I am done. I am leaving. I am going to change the course of my life. And think about it. Do you really want to work for an employer that says you have to do this?
See, Kat, you're already getting ahead of me. See how you are. I like it. I love it, because here I am. I'm over here thinking, and I'm trying to pull it up on my handy dandy Facebook page here. But I want to get to this, because I do want to get to the event down at the not the Law and Justice Center, but the Public Health Department, which is on the front and center street. Mm-hmm. There is going to be a rally there to stand up, right? It's not about masking. It's not about vaccine. It's the plethora of different topics. People have to let their voices. This is what the Constitution guarantees: peaceful gathering.
Wear
to
your
protest.
values on your sleeve. Wear your values on your sleeve. And literally, like, if you want to wear your Trump hat into a store, wear your Trump hat into a store and make people uncomfortable. Because you know what's uncomfortable to me? You looking down at me and telling me what to do with my body. Yeah. Where are the my body, my choice people? Where are you, screechers?
Yeah.
Because this is totally not the way America was supposed to be, where you have to be jabbed with something that you don't even know that much about. I was talking to somebody, she had MS from a vaccination, not the COVID-19 vaccination, but she had a different vaccination. And it actually, I didn't know this, but people who have problems with vaccines, they are qualified for an exemption that they, like, don't have to have vaccines anymore. But the statute of limitations, she was telling me, is up, and then her job is forcing her to get another vaccine. But she's like, I already had an MS from a different vaccine. I don't vaccinate. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer or anything, but she has the right to do that.
Well, it's because it's based on information. Every person that I know has, as far as I know, I mean, I get it. There are people that might not have total access to the internet, but we have public places that provide internet service. But it's gathering information. It's gathering data. What is your best choice? You know, it's up to you. It's like you said, this is a decision made for my family, for me personally, for my kids, for my grandkids, for my parents, you know, who are aging. That's what I think we need to continue to keep in the forefront. And I think that all people, and that it doesn't matter if you're red or blue or in the middle somewhere, I think we all believe in those values, those core values that make us Americans. But before we get to that, because as you can tell out there, for our city's listeners, you guys, Kat has come, she's loaded, loaded in a good way. I mean, she brings
Don't worry,
the energy.
Guys, I'm not packing.
But on a somber note, because I know you're going to have this teacher. I don't want to disclose her name because I don't know if we have permission to do that or not. And I am very aware of her situation and her service to one of the local school districts. And she has resigned, and she has a great story. And I don't want to, step on that.
Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned, as the old saying goes. But I want to talk about my wife and I participated in the Rep the Blue Line memory, or I guess that's what they call it. David Quinn. He's going to be with us next Sunday, and he's going to talk about the event that he puts on every Tuesday night. Starts at 6:00 out at Tipton Trails, right along GE Road.
I'll be there this Tuesday. I'm so excited. Come on.
What's fascinating is they honor. It's an honor run and walk. David actually carries the flag, the Rep the Blue flag, the thin blue line flag. He runs with it for almost, I think it's a 3.1 miles, so 5K. I can't begin to tell you, it's hard enough just to run a 5K, right?
Yeah.
He runs it with a flag, and this isn't one of these, little handheld waving flag things. This is a full pole with a flag. And I can't even begin to imagine the resistance that he feels. Obviously, he hopes for a calm night. Then again, I don't think this kid hopes for anything. And I call him a kid. He's my age, but he looks like a kid. He's that fit. He served on his time as a law enforcement officer. Now in his retirement, this is what he's picked up, this cause, Rep the Blue Line. But he's going to be with us next Sunday. And, I asked David at the last run, I said, David, when do you stop running? He goes, well, the fortunate thing is we don't run on weeks where there hasn't been a fallen officer. I said, well, have you had any of those weeks? He said, unfortunately not, since they started this. And with that, we do have something to report. I saw this come across my feed on social media last night, I guess. Rest in peace, police officer Ella French, 29 years old, and she just got back from maternity leave. She was ambushed and gunned down. She's a Chicago police officer. She leaves behind a 2-month-old baby. We're going to share this on our Facebook page at Cities 92.9. And if you're just joining us, here at Cities 92.9. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. It is the David Paul Blumenshine Show. Cats across the way. We are loaded for giving you the information that you need to know. This is serious stuff. I know that you hear it manifested in so many ways, and it's coming at you. It seems like information overload. But I know you, as our audience, you know that this is serious stuff. What Kat's going to share with us about this peaceful gathering to let our voices be heard down at the McLean County Health Department this week. She's going to share that with you. I'm also going to share another event that's going on tonight, and I want to do that right now. This can be found at State Representative Blaine Wilhauer's page. He is a representative from the 107th District, but they're going to put on basically a meeting tonight, a Facebook event tonight, and it's going to have Senator Darren Bailey, Representative Calkins, Holbrook, Representative Miller, Niemerg, and Wilhauer. And basically they're going to talk about masks are still optional. And that's the thing we need to stress here today. This isn't a matter of whether our school boards, we need to go and voice to our school board. And the thing that should come out of those meetings is this. Our school boards across the state of Illinois, there's almost 830 of them, should be asking, does the governor have the authority that he is wielding with these mandates to mask up? That's the question that should be asked. Based on what I'm seeing, there is no authority for the governor to basically put this forth. Now, I'm watching a lot of school districts suddenly in the course of a week who have already made a decision to go mask optional to start to, shake a little bit and saying, gosh, we might have to go where these kids are coming back to school with masks. The science, the data doesn't support it. And I'm sure that those on the left will tell you that the science and data does support it, and they're going to scream. And, our very own local doctor, Tom Pulura, who's over at Campus Town Urgent Care, who's been on the forefront of testing and treating people with the coronavirus, talked about the variant, the Delta variant, and how in different countries like the UK, it spiked. They saw this. It came in, and once again, any variant that's mutated out of an original virus is usually more transmittable, but it's not more deadly. The symptoms seem to be more mild to moderate, and it comes and it goes quickly, especially during the summer months. And that's what he believes, the data. And this is not data coming from Dr. Tom Pulura. Dr. Tom uses many sources. One of them happens to be Johns Hopkins Research Hospital. And that's the data they're seeing. They're actually calling this thing's going to start coming down before Tom called it, Dr. Pulura, on the 20th of this month. It's going to happen sooner than that. So what then happens now? Well, we know what's going to happen. Here comes the line and lineage of other variants that we're going to start reporting actually exist and are raising hospital cases and in ICU beds, which once again, I'm not saying that hospitalizations haven't ticked up a little bit, but you got to go look at the data. Is it necessarily for COVID? And
here's my thing, DPP. I don't think any amount of cases, any amount of hospitalizations, deaths, call me crazy, I don't think any of it warrants a lockdown of the American people. I really don't. I believe that once you take a little bit of freedom, you don't get it back.
No.
Because then the Democrats now,
because that's their new baseline.
Possibly Republicans later down the road, they're going to say, well, look what we did in 2020. We did this for the coronavirus. How about we do it for this? Yeah,
it starts manifesting. It feeds on its own. It becomes circular in logic, and they start pointing to that baseline that they've created falsely. Once again, not based on science, not based on data. It's a man-created barrier or line of demarcation, and then they move forward from that. They've been doing that for years. But like I said, I want to make sure the audience got this. Masks are still optional. Once again, masks are still optional. The governor can mandate all he wants. Does he have the authority to mandate?
The answer is no.
The answer is no. So join Darren Bailey, Dan Calkins, Brad Holbrook, Chris Miller, Adam Nienberg, Blaine Wilhauer tonight at 7 p.m. You can go to Facebook and search any one of those state representatives. And once again, on a side note, I'm going to slip this in before we go to break, is here are representatives from our General Assembly who have not been able to go back into session that are willing to come to you, me, those of us who are patriots, Americans, citizens, and tell us the real story rather than this false facade that the governor has managed to put out over the years. Hey, we've got a lot. As you can see, Kat's ready to go today. We get 2 hours. It never seems like it's enough. But we're going to continue to update you on what you can be doing right now, right here in Bloomington Normal at Cities 92.9, the News and Talk. Hey, we so appreciate you guys joining us here on Sundays. It's Cities 92.9, the News and Talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. Across the way is Kat Peterson. She came flying in here off the interstate. She got in here just in time. If not, I was going to have to be running the board. Hey, we need you. In fact, it's critical that you guys call in or that you are text in. We need to know that you're hearing what we're saying. You know, the old saying, are you catching what we're laying down? Because this is critical stuff.
Picking up my drift.
Picking up my drift, you know. and yeah, as good-hearted people, we can laugh about it. If you were with us last segment, you would know that, you know, we're talking about the governor's edicts. This governor has continued on. I was in the courtroom last July 2nd when Judge Michael McCaney ruled. And no, for all of you that are hearing out there, I thought that only pertained to one person, Darren Bailey. No, they went ahead and rewrote that case in that suit. Basically, they knew once he granted it to one that it was applied to all. So they went back into the judge. They said, no, judge, we just don't want this temporary restraining order to apply to Darren Bailey. We want this case to go forward. If you have found that the governor is in violation of Darren's constitutional rights, Senator Bailey's, then that must apply to all Illinoisans. And it does. The governor is in violation of our Constitution. To say that case is no longer in place, it is. It has not been overruled. Actually, if anything, because we've seen this over and over, money seems to dictate a lot of things, especially if you have a lot of money, you can buy your justice. And that has gone on for a long, long time, unfortunately. We live in a two-tier system. That's another topic. But we were talking about a couple things. Tonight at 7 p.m. on a Facebook event, we Blaine Wilhauer and a few other state reps, Brad Holbrook, Chris Miller, I'm missing somebody, Darren Bailey, Senator Bailey's going to be on there. Is there one more? Dan Calkins, Chris Miller.
Governor Bailey.
Governor Bailey, yes. Thank you, Kat, for clarifying that on the other end. But they're having an event tonight. It looks like we do have somebody calling in right now, and which is always good. We do appreciate that when you actually hear us and then you go ahead and respond. It is awesome. But they're having this event tonight on Facebook, and they're going to talk about masks being optional still. To think that that's not the case is wrong. Do you got him on the line?
I sure do. Caller, you're on Cities 92.9. Can you give us your name?
Donna Cathy.
Hey, Donna, how are you?
I'm doing great, as a matter of fact.
Well, what do you think about all this with the governor and these new edicts that he's put forward? See how I do not call them laws because they're not laws. It's a mandate that all the schools, and once again, for our audience, the governor actually gave the school boards authority 2 weeks ago. Now he suddenly has decided to overrule his ruling, which is kind of crazy.
Well, I honestly believe that there shouldn't be any one person that makes that decision. It's a scientific, it's based on personal choice. Now, I happen to be 70 years old. I was in a bad accident, will be almost 2 years ago. I have not gotten the COVID vaccine, but I've had COVID virus. Mm-hmm. And I tested negative again for the 10th time. Each time I have to have a procedure, I have to be tested.
I get you.
It has been, and so I'm, My doctor and the people that I've talked to is like, we shouldn't make this mandatory. It's done enough damage to our children. I had a little 8-year-old tell me the other day that she had been told she's suffering from separation anxiety because she can't be around any of her friends. Sometimes she's afraid to leave home because she might get sick without a mask.
Well,
it's doing irreversible damage, I believe, to our young people.
And, with just that point, Don, I want to go ahead and hit upon that. And we do appreciate you calling into the station today. I'm going to pick it up from here. Donna, go ahead and keep listening. But, this is the thing that we're going to talk about when we come back from break. The irreparable damage, the psychological damage, the physical damage that's being done to our young people, our children, and adults. Hey, stay with us. We are ready to go today. We are going to make sure that you're aware of what is in front of us. Yeah, we're here. We don't go very far on Sundays from 1 to 3. It's Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. Across the way is Kat Peterson. Kat, we had a good caller the last segment.
We did, Donna. Thanks so much for calling. And she was a 70-year-old woman, and she has been in contact with her doctor and has been constantly testing. And that just goes to show people know what to do with their bodies. And that might vary. I mean, obviously, it's going to vary depending on your age, your sex, your gender. It's going to vary, and the government has no idea the vastness of what all of that entails.
One size does not fit all.
Yeah.
Or one size does not fit anybody.
Yeah, and Donna brought up that point. One person making all of these decisions just out of the state of emergency that he continues to operate in, even though that's illegal.
And what Kat's talking about there is the emergency declaration, which was brought up in the courtroom on July 2nd last year when the counsel from Chicago representing Governor Pritzker opened up. His opening statement was that he told Judge Michael McKinney that he didn't even have authority in his own courtroom, which is not a good way to get off in a southern county in Illinois, going into a courtroom as a Chicago attorney. Very nice suit that he had on, which you would expect. And you know what? Really, this guy wasn't a bad human being. He was there doing his job on behalf of Governor Pritzker, trying to defend the governor. But to say the judge doesn't have authority in his own courtroom because the DOJ, which at this time, in case our audience isn't aware, the DOJ had already sent something back stating that that this case had to go forward. They were trying to get this thing dismissed through the Department of Justice. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, that justice sometimes can be paid for and bought. We live in America. That is not the case. We need to move beyond that. There's so many things we need to move beyond, We are morally and fiscally bankrupt. I don't know how people on any side of the aisle can look at the current financial situation that our state is in, that our country is in. This infrastructure bill, shame on you, the 10 senators.
And shame on the rhinos who voted for
it. That's what I meant. That's what I was going to say. These 10 senators, U.S. senators that happen to run as Republicans, who are willing to put our country at risk. This is not, let's, once again, if you went and looked at any of these bills, they're not really about what they pertain to be. It's no different than saying that people really care about the minority communities, immigration.
But in the same breath, tell them that they'll never amount to anything.
Yes. In the working class, they say that they're really behind the working class, the family. That's not what they stand for. These people stand for power. That's who they are. So I found this interesting, and I don't know if you saw this, Kat, but Matt Walsh, and if you're not familiar with who Matt is, he's part of that team over at the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles and, oh gosh, what's my friend, Ed Clavin. Is he still with them?
I don't know. I know Candace Owens is on there.
That's right. Candace is the new one on the block, the new person on the block, new kid on the block is the old group.
And she's good. She's fiery.
But Matt Walsh put something out about 17, well, it's probably about 20 hours ago now. So you can find this on his social media page, Matt Walsh at the Daily Wire. But Matt said, my responsibility is to my children and my family. The public school system cannot be saved. Even if it could, I am not sending my kids in to help with that mission. Not their job. They are not equipped. No child is. I hear parents say that they won't leave the school system because they want to fight. But it's not you doing the fighting. It's your child. And he cannot win it. He cannot win it. You are sending him on a suicide mission. It isn't fair to him. The school system is undefeated. It changes children. Children do not change it. But yes, keep feeding your kids into the meat grinder. Maybe it will be different this time. You know it won't be, but you tell yourself that. Save your own, get them out, let the system collapse and die. I find this interesting, this piece that Matt put out, because it is so true, and it's so relevant to what we're covering here today at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. If you're just joining us, we're talking about our governor, Governor Pritzker. He's been at it now since July 2nd. Well, actually, he's been at it since April 8th, is what Judge Michael McCaney ruled in the Clay County Courthouse, that the governor was in violation of the state constitution. Donna, the caller that called in here a few minutes ago to report about her life and her experiences with these mandates, said it best, that one person shouldn't be making all the decisions for almost 12 million people. And that's what we find. But Governor Pritzker has decided to go ahead and inject himself into this process. I don't know what else he has to do. But Michael McCaney, Judge Michael McCaney, ruled that J.B. Pritzker was in violation of our Constitution. If J.B. wants to do something, Donna said it best, we need to call the General Assembly back into office. Into session, I should say, not into office, but into session, and let them govern. That's what the legislative branch does.
What we elected them to do.
They need to be doing it. The governor absolutely continues to operate under this false front called an emergency proclamation, which is what the judge said last July 2nd. It was funny, this highfalutin attorney, and I shouldn't say highfalutin, he seemed like a nice guy. He really did. But he brought this up, that the emergency declaration and what we are currently experiencing was similar to nuclear war, which obviously the gallery,
excuse me,
those in attendance got a big laugh out of it. He took it personally that they were laughing at him in the courtroom, and that's what the judge said. The judge said, let me get this straight, counselor. You're comparing a novel virus to nuclear war? You got to be kidding me. But that's the extremes.
But we're the conspiracy theorists.
But that's what they're willing to go after, right? Because they need the emergency proclamation. They need the governor. The General Assembly, for the most part, because there is such a majority on the Democratic side, they don't want to resolve this themselves. If they did, they would have to admit that the governor has indeed been outside of the parameters of the Constitution. And therefore, they had that bill that they passed. Kat and I were kind of bantering back and forth with Scott Robbins about that, and our soon-to-be new governor, Darren Bailey, here last week.
Darren Bailey.
Your governor, Darren Bailey. My governor, Darren Bailey. We got to be close. We can't say it's city's governor.
No, not city's governor. It's my governor,
your
Darren
governor,
Bailey.
My governor. Come on my show anytime, Governor Bailey. In fact, that's what our very own Scott Robbins said. You can catch Scott with Kat Peterson during the week, from Mondays through Fridays, 6 to 9, here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. But Scott bantering back and forth that legislation that came out of committee. Darren Bailey explained what happened is this legislation came out of committee. It went to the floor to be voted on, to be considered, and then it got tabled, right? And the reason was because the language within the bill stipulated that the governor was outside of his authority. So they were basically, the legislation, the piece of law they drafted, found the governor guilty too. If they were to pass it, it would have said the governor was outside of his authority for that period of time, from April 8th until August. You look at the months are ticking away, and he continues to operate executive order after executive order, and to find out that the executive order past April 8th were basically not enforceable. They're just...
You can't do that. You can't operate out of a state of emergency when there is no emergency. When the federal government, the CDC, everybody behind coronavirus is telling you, don't mask up, you don't need to do that. And then he continues with his executive orders and just whatever he wants to do.
Well, and it's not even it's the inconsistency of mask versus not mask. The credibility of the CDC went out the window when they became a branch of the Democratic Party. But Matt Walsh says it best. The corruption that has gone on in our school system, which basically has fed off of the state government and local government. That's why he's saying, we were talking about this last week too on, I think during Scott's show. I think maybe you and I talked about it off air, Kat, was that the school report card, and I talked with one of our guests that we had a few weeks ago, David Smith from Illinois Family Institute, Illinois Family Action, that the school report card has changed its whole paradigm. They no longer look at proficiency in reading, writing, and arithmetic. Because they already lost that game. Kids are coming out of school. So a big percentage of them are not reading at grade level, cannot accomplish math skills at grade level. So they lost that battle. It was failing, right? So now when you go to the school report card, it talks about culture. What kind of culture is being created in the school? What are they doing to expand all of the programs of culturally responsive teaching, taking into consideration all these variables that really don't pertain to the basics of public education. So hence the reason Matt Walsh says, get your kids out. Darren Bailey has said it multiple times.
Get your kids out.
Get
I know
your
it's
kids
gonna
out.
Be hard.
It is going to be hard.
And I know it's our knee-jerk reaction to be super appreciative of teachers, and I am. I am so appreciative of my teachers, and they're great people. However, the teachers coming out now, coming out of the woodwork, especially these younger ones that are from higher education, there is no longer a selflessness to teachers. There's the selfishness that they get from that higher education that tells them, no, you have to change culture, and that is on you, and you. And it's no longer about the kids. It's not about your kids anymore. It's about them and their mission to change the world for what they perceive it to be.
And because this thing has been sewn together, and that's what they've done. And this is why we are sharing very firm action statements. Today, we're just not talking about it. We've already recognized it. We've seen it. It has, I think that Chris Miller, Representative Chris Miller, who will be on that event tonight with Blaine Wilhauer and Holbrook and Calkins and Senator Darren Bailey, Chris Miller says it best. The swamp has been drained. And the only thing floating now, well, he uses some graphic terms, the only thing floated. They kind of look like that one emoji, that I used to think was an ice cream cone.
TPB, you thought it was an ice cream cone?
I thought it was an ice cream
it's
cone.
Not an ice cream cone.
You don't want to eat that kind of ice cream.
No.
But Chris Miller said that's what's been exposed. We know what's going on now. They're not even pretending to hide it. And it's embedded in this NEST legislation that's on the governor's desk that basically says they're going full in at it. It is comprehensive sex ed. It is culturally relevant teaching, is what they call it, or culturally responsible teaching, or critical race theory. Whatever CRT you want to use, it's covered in there. And it has nothing to do with the basics of education, which is what you want for your kids. You want your child to be the best version of themselves. You don't want them to be mimicking what these people who have, like Kat said, have gravitated to the educational experience, right? I mean, just get this. If you're going into education right now as a teacher, and once again, my wife's an educator, 32 years, trying to finish out her career for 35. But if past 2010, if you've signed on as a teacher, you now have to put 45 years in. 45 years to reach full retirement. I'm sorry, not very many people will make it to 45 years of teaching. And the damage that can be done by people who do not have the best interest of our kids at heart. I'm not saying that's all of them, but it's what the administrations are handing down. Hey, we're going to continue this discussion. As you can tell, we're raring to go, and we want you to know what lies beyond this mask optional. It is still mask optional. Don't let the governor fool you. But we're going to continue this discussion about mask options. Hopefully we're going to get somebody on the line here that's going to be able to challenge us. At Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Hey, we're here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. You find us here from 1 to 3 every Sunday. And if you'd like to be part of the show, which, we want you to call in or we want you to text in, you can do that by calling at 309-451-9299, or you can text us. Our text line is always open, 309-807-1600. We want to hear from you. We want to know how you feel about this current craziness. I used to call it the COVID crisis. Now I call it the COVID craziness, COVID chaos, the COVID fear. What other adjective do you want to apply to it? Kat, we were just talking about this, and it's a good point. When does the emergency proclamation end? When does the declaration of an emergency state end? How long can the governor operate as a single body, one branch of our one branch of our government? We have the judicial, we have the legislative, and then we have the executive. Well, how long can the executive branch dictate to the state edicts and mandates without calling back into session the legislators?
I don't know. And it kind of is weird with the checks and balances. Like, how can he operate under this? I feel like the state of emergency itself, isn't it governed by the legislation? It should be. If it's not, I'd have to double check. But the state of emergency of itself should be voted on by the legislators, and then the governor can execute it. Hence the word executive branch.
Yes.
Right?
Sign something into law. Sign something into law. You are the executive branch. Yes, as an executive branch, you oversee the agencies, the power of the COVID crisis through the Illinois Department of Public Health, through the Illinois State Board of Education. Yes, the executive position has authority. We're not doubting that he has authority. We're doubting that he is misusing his position. He is, we believe, unconstitutional in his actions. So how do we answer that question? These school boards should be asking, is the governor in his authority to mandate anything? It's not whether we vax or mask. It's whether there should be a mandate. We have a plethora of mandates. A little side note just to let you know that there's so much more out there that has gone into creating this current craziness that we're dealing with. And it's not going to stop unless we step forward. When you have a bill or a budget, operating bill, you have two different sections of the bill, but it equals 3,600 pages. The average Bible is 1,200 pages. And I'm sure there's a lot more in that Bible that gives life advice than the 3,600 pages in the 2021 budget, which it's riddled with so much language that it's hard to ever pick through this. They have made it so that you have to be a professional in order to figure this stuff out. And that's unfortunate to you. That's unfortunate to me. The common people, the working class people that are just going about the business of raising our families, taking care of our families, wanting to go to our places of worship. And, they are making it impossible. Now, I will tell you, there is a certain pastor who's a very good friend of mine who has been open since Pentecost Sunday of last year in May, and he took the backlash from the local newspaper and all the other liberal media sources here in the McLean County area. But he said, there won't be any closing down again. I don't care what the governor says. And I have to stand with my pastor. In fact, he said, if you come here on Sunday and this door's not open, well, you might want to reconsider if you haven't been left behind. Now, he's referring to the rapture, of course, and yeah. I know that not all of our audience, that you might find that to be believable, unbelievable. I personally, I don't want to live through a tribulation. I've read Revelations. I don't want to have any part of it. I'm just hopeful that my gracious God will deliver me from this place when all that goes south, because it started. We can see it manifested right before us. This is happening. We are seeing it. That's right. We're seeing it in our school systems. We're seeing it in our culture. We're seeing it in Hollywood, in sports. This whole craziness of tearing down people. Hey, we've got so much more to cover. We're going to hit upon it when we come back here at Cities 92.9, we are the news and talk of Bloomington, Normal, and beyond. Hey, we've got a lot to catch you up on here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm David Paul Blumenshine, and we are just with you every Sunday from 1 to 3. And unfortunately, because it's only a 2-hour show, we got to condense our talking points and get everything out there. Kat's got some things she wants to share with you. I'm going to share with you real quick. I announced earlier in the show that there's going to be a Facebook event tonight, and now we're starting to hear that the Facebook gods are trying to bring down this Facebook event, which doesn't surprise me. This whole thing is getting out of control with it's a violation.
It hasn't been up that long.
And it hasn't been up that long. And, you know, I showed Kat some screenshots of something that they reported me for because I shared Darren Bailey's statement about his belief system, you know, about vaccinations. He's not anti-vax. He's helped people. He declares that we are a free people, and these decisions are left up to us. These choices are left up to us. But this event tonight that Representative Blaine Wilhauer is put together with Dan Calkins, Representative Holbrook, Representative Miller, Representative Nieberg, and Senator Bailey is supposed to be at 7 o'clock tonight. It looks like the Facebook gods, Mark Zuckzuck.
You don't want to know the name, Michael.
Well, Mark and his minions look like they might have disrupted the event already because it was going to cover that masks are still optional. If you were with us last hour, we have been hitting upon when does the emergency proclamation, the declaration that the governor put out back in March of last year that basically constitutionally provided him 30 days. And now we're going on 15, 16 months and beyond where the governor continues to lay out executive orders without calling back the legislators into session to decide when does this emergency end? When does the proclamation go away? Are we going to live in a state of emergency forever in the state of Illinois as things continue to just break apart? We're morally and fiscally bankrupt. Our legislators know it. But you, Kat, you were saying something. I kind of cut you off there.
No, right. And it's like, there's no way for anybody to like get this legislation passed for the state of emergency unless the legislation comes back, right?
That's right. So they have to be in session in order for them to create.
So he doesn't want them to go back in session because then he can't operate out of the state of emergency because if they go back into session...
Yes, which is not only does he not want them to come back, but they don't want to come back. But you said something on break about action. The reason that I support Darren Bailey is because he took the governor to court to ask this very question. Are you within your constitutional right to continue to do what you're doing? And the judge ruled that he wasn't, contrary to a lot of establishment Republicans, Democrats, and people who are just not aware. That still stands. That has not been thrown out. It's not been ruled upon because as we talked earlier in the show, when you have a gazillion dollars, well, in Governor Pritzker's case, a few $billion, you can do a lot to buy justice, whether that's try to solicit the Department of Justice to throw this thing out, which obviously failed because that's what was ruled in Michael McCaney's court. They sent it back to Michael McCaney's court, and they said that this case needs to be heard on behalf of Darren Bailey. But my point being, why I put Darren above any other candidates who have declared that they want to run for governor or any other office in the state of Illinois, is he's taken quantifiable, measurable action. And you can take action too, and that's what we're saying. These school boards should be asking, does the governor have the authority? That's what Darren asked. But there's an event coming up here next week.
August 13th, it's a Friday this week at 2 p.m. Go to the McLean County Health Department and protest the masks.
Protest the mess. I like that. Protest the mess. Peaceful gatherings. That's what the Constitution allows us, to peacefully gather, and to voice our opinions about what we believe should happen. It's the only way that this is going to turn itself around. Once again, we already know that everything is exposed. President Trump and his administration said they were going to drain the swamp, and they did, because we see what's left behind.
We do. We see what's left behind, and it's time to... We're the only ones that can do anything about it. We really are. Like, if we don't do anything now, and if we just stay in our job and just get the vaccine mandate, and if we just comply with the mask mandate, the goalpost will keep moving.
Well, this was brought up when I was on the bus tour with soon-to-be Governor Bailey. Dan Calkins, representative out of the 101st District, which don't listen to any of the numbers on those districts anymore. It's irrelevant right now because they will change. There's not fair maps. That's another thing that the governor lied about. He lies about so many things, and I do say it. He's a liar. He lied about fair maps. He would veto map unless it was a fair map. There's no fair map involved. He said he would have ethics reform. There is no ethics reform.
Don't get in a car with Governor Pritzker because you're going to get lost. Yeah. He can't read maps.
That's right. Can't read maps. But Dan Calkins, Representative Calkins said it, that you look at Martin Sandoval, former Senator, State Senator Sandoval, Representative Arroyo, Cullerton. These are names. These gentlemen were caught red-handed on wired lines, basically buying and selling favors as representatives, as state senators, as they were caught in this whole debacle of Mike Madigan. What happened to Mike Madigan? There's a good question.
I honestly think he's still pulling strings. I really do.
Well, I don't know what he is doing. Obviously,
to have this governor continue with all of this out of authority, overreach, power-hungry garbage, there's got to be somebody behind him helping him.
Well, let's make it a little more current. Because I don't think we're ever going to hear about Mike Madigan. And if he's ever going to be truly brought to justice, because I don't know where that investigation is. A lot of it stops, right? When President Biden took over, there's a whole new sheriff in town, right? So a lot of those investigations where we're trying to uncover this bankruptcy, this moral depravity that's going on, not only on the national scene, but on the local scene, on the state scene. But let's make it a little more current than Mike Madigan and Martin Sandoval and Arroyo and Cullerton and all these guys that fell off the ship in the state house last year that we seem to have no follow-up on. How about the governor of New York? When's that going to resurface? When are we going to hear something about that? Is that was the fly-by-night, it's here and now it's gone? Do we ever think we're going to hear about Andrew Cuomo again?
Nope, he will never be held accountable because that's just what happens. I mean, it took 11 women to come out and make allegations against him, and it took, I don't even know, countless lives for something to come out about him in the news, because the news is so biased, and there's only 7%, listen to this, 7% of people who identify as right-leaning as journalists.
Well, and this is my very point. It's not necessarily Andrew Cuomo. It's not, we can go on and on about these players that are in government. And it's crazy because they do not bring back these people's names ever. And you wonder, what is the deflection that has led to this? Is it been this Delta variant that who knows how long it's going to be with us? We know that the data will continue to come out because at least there's good-hearted, good-souled, good-moral people that are reporting some of the data that we're getting. Don't listen to the mainstream media because you'll never get the true numbers. It's kind of like, what are the true numbers of the election of November 3rd? We really don't know. Well, will we ever hear about the Arizona audit? These things are all interrelated. It gets into the corruption that's systemic in our country. We have a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, this is Steve. here's the problem. You've got the mass media, the fake news, media mob. They run the narrative. They back the Marxist Democrat, and the Democrats don't care if anything good ever happens in this country. All they are is crazy for power.
It is power. Hey, Steve, we appreciate you listening here at Cities 92.9. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up from here, but once again, keep calling in, keep listening. Yeah, Steve, you hit it on the head. It's about power. That is it, you know. Granted, fame comes into play, too. Some of these guys are so ego-driven. You know, I know sometimes the big N word comes out there, narcissist. I think the egos have led into narcissism in a lot of ways. And I get it. I see it manifested when you're around these people. They get into a position of authority, and it leads to this holier than thou. Mm-hmm. And it is,
and it starts in the higher education, and I think that's where our teachers are headed. It's this direction where they think that they are the ones who have all of the answers for your kids because of a piece of paper and because they went through this cultural brainwashing in college. They think that they've got this power over you. And I find it in some medical professionals, Dr. Fauci. I find it in teachers. I find it in these people that work in the mainstream media, especially, I hate to call it out, NPR, public radio, CNN, MSNBC. They have this idea that because they've got this intelligence behind them, and they're intelligent people, that somehow they have the authority to lie and manipulate, and it's just okay.
Our very own Dan Bongino, who you can hear here at Cities 92.9, the News and Talk of Bloomington Normal, from 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. Bongino called him Bongino. Bongino. Dan Bongino. Sorry, Dan, if you're listening. I'm sure you are. You tune in to Cities 92.9 to hear the DPP show on Sundays from 1 to 3. But Dan Bongino calls them really smart, stupid people. And, you know, I'm not a big name caller. It's not part of who I am. That's not what I believe.
Come on, DPP. Call him a name. I know it'll make you feel better.
Well, he also says they're useful idiots. So it doesn't mean that they're not intellectually, you know, they can read a book. In fact, I think I have something here from my church notes this morning, because I have my church notes and I have my show notes. You know, but Bongino just has his show notes. He never talks about his church notes. But it says, a foolish person can be book smart. A foolish person can be book smart. And that hits upon it.
Is it scripture?
No.
No, it's
but
just
I'm sure it is. It's probably mixed in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. In Proverbs, it talks about wisdom and foolishness in the books of wisdom. But this was out of our little message this morning. A foolish person can be a book smart. And I think that's true. We have indoctrinated people. You hear some of these folks, especially, I love the ones that get on Shapiro, you know, during his events. And they come out there and they're these guys, you know, and you can tell they've been steeped in books all day and they've been writing papers and they start talking about the different theories. And you're like, my gosh, they made a cartoon about you, dude. You know, you had the wire rim glasses and everything. And you did. You sounded like an encyclopedia. And your question is, what? What next? What are you guys talking about? What do you want to see happen next? Where do you think this is going to go? You know, we have been living the way we have for many years. That's what our founders set forth. They knew they put together this Constitution, this constitutional republic. And yes, I get tired of hearing people call it a democracy. You know, we are a Constitution republic. That's the end of the game. That is where we stand. If you were to say anything different, pick up, hey, I've always said it here at Cities 92. Just phone in, text in. We'll get you a pocket Constitution. Read it, live it, learn it. It's actually read it, learn it, live it.
A pocket Bible and a pocket Constitution. Have them in both pockets and get.
Yeah.
I do. I have my little cross with me.
Oh, yeah, I see it. She's got it.
Shout out to Tanya Blumenshine. She's the best person in the world.
Tanya provided Kat with a little cross, which was repurposed out of a gun shell, a spent gun shell that she picked up in Liberia when my wife was over there doing missions work by teaching teachers in Liberia, which gets back to the educational process. And I shared with the audience, and you might have heard this if you were with us last hour, about Matt Walsh's appeal to get your kids out of the school system. And I'm going to read that again before we get off the air. But Kat keeps her little cross up here. Thank you for bringing it into studio, because I know that we're safer with it there. But hey, we've got more to cover. We're going to hit upon it real hard when we come back. I'm David Paul Blumenshine here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. It is Sunday, Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm David Paul Blumenshine. Across the way is Kat. You can catch her Monday through Friday on the Scott Robbins Show. I'm sure you're aware of that. I'm not telling you anything new, but it's good to have her on Sundays too. In fact, Kat's pulled a full week. I mean, she was filling in for Tony on Ty Smith's show. How did Ty's show go yesterday?
It went really well. You guys need to check it out on cities929.com, and you can go under podcasts and listen back to any of our talents, our shows, all of our local shows. We've got the most local talk in Bloomington Normal, and it went really well. We were talking about kids and their behaviors coming out of the home. And that is, I mean, you are responsible for your child, the way they behave, and their education, and you need to fight for them. And you can go out to the August 13th protest. That's Friday at 2 p.m. at the McLean County Health Department. I'll be there, and we're going to raise our voices, and we're going to be loud.
Well, and you're right, Kat. Parents are responsible. And I know a lot of people will say, well, how about the parents that are not in the household, who are not able to teach their kids about comprehensive sex education and beyond? You know, here's my argument for that. I find it interesting that this entire society, you talk about systemic, what have we been doing for the past 50 years? We've been breaking down the family. There aren't two-parent households, especially in the minority community, and specifically the black community. 70% of households in the black community are single-parent households, mostly the mother. So you're right. Where is the influence? And Ty speaks into that a lot about the impact that a father has. And it's not just the black community. It's the Hispanic community. It's all communities. Fathers know best. Fathers are important. They are the bedrock of any family. Yes, you heard it here. And yes, families have the responsibility to care for their children. You know, I'm reading this here from the Midwest Central CUSD number 191 up in Manitou. That's your school district, isn't it, Kat?
It's pretty close. Okay. I don't think that's my school district, but it's pretty close. This is the superintendent from the district, and he says in paragraph 3 of this letter, he's addressing this to Raider families. However, if you watch Governor Pritzker's announcement this past Wednesday, he clearly stated that because many school districts were exercising their local control to not follow the CDC guidelines, he had to mandate mask wearing in schools. Let me be clear about a couple of things. We were first told if we got vaccinated that we wouldn't have to mask. We were then told we had local control. We were then told that everyone had to mask, even the vaccinated. Governor Pritzker has not been truthful about anything and has lost our trust. He has repeatedly lied to the people that have elected him to lead. That's pretty firm words coming from the superintendent, and his name is Todd, I'm going to say this, Hellringle. Hey, ED, old Todd Hellringle. He gave the governor a little, raise a little hell, raise a little hell. That goes back to Head East. You might not be aware of that or not, Kat, but they played at the fair the other night. But good for you, Todd, superintendent of the Midwest Central School District, number 191. He's calling the governor out for what it is. It's a lie. You can't continue to tell people one thing and then do another. Once again, getting back to the question, when does the emergency end? When are we no longer in a state of emergency?
We can't live in a perpetual state of emergency. We need to stand up. You need to fight for your kids. As Matt Walsh says, and Darren Bailey even did, get them out. Get them out. You know, sending them back into the firing squad because Matt Walsh called it a meat grinder. Your kids are not equipped to fight this battle. You as the parents are the ones who are equipped to fight this battle. What they are going to do in the near future and beyond is almost unconscionable. This is crazy. We got to stand up. The time is now. Darren Bailey said it best. Freedom is not free. Action. Be a part of it. Hey, we're here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm David Ball, Blumenshine. Come back after the break. Hey, Sunday here at Cities 92.9. My name is David Paul Blumenshine. You can find us here from 1 to 3. Across the way is Kat. Hey, Kat, I know that Blaine's on the phone right now. He's not on the floor, the house floor. He should be on the house floor, but he's on the phone right now. We're going to bring him on quickly because Blaine's got a lot of things to share with us in a short period of time to do it. Blaine, I know you're busy, so lay it on us. What are we looking at for tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, David Paul, for having me on here today, and thank you for what you do. Basically, we just need to get the truth out there about what is going on with this mask mandate. What is happening, what is not happening, what should and should not, and more importantly, what people's rights are, both as individuals and as school boards. So there's 3 big points. The mandate's not based on science and data. That's been gone over a lot. But what we're really going to focus on is that the governor lacks the rulemaking authority to do this. The executive powers of the governor through the Emergency Management Act does not give him the authority to do this rulemaking. And furthermore, it certainly doesn't give him any enforcement authority. So we just want to get these facts out there in a very public manner and help and encourage these local school boards to make the decisions and in many cases stand with the decisions that they've already made, which were in line with CDC guidance and still are in line with CDC guidance. We just want to give them the courage and encouragement to do that, and to know that they're well within their rights as they do it. And obviously we want to make sure that we give the information to parents to activate and to make sure that these folks know what's on the line here, what their rights are, and some accountability on action.
Blaine, are you on speakerphone?
No, I'm not.
We got a little feedback, but there, you sounded better there for a second.
I could maybe call you back on a landline. I don't know if it's my cell phone.
No, nope, you sound good right now. So wherever you're standing, Blaine, and just for our audience knows, so they know, Blaine's down in Southern Illinois, so he's kind enough to call in here on Sunday. He's coordinating this event. Blaine, you just said something that we were talking about for almost an hour and a half here on the show today. When is the emergency going to end, according to the governor? Is this a perpetual emergency, a state of emergency that we never get out of? These school boards, why don't they ask the question, Governor, do you have the authority? That's the question they should be asking. Does the governor even have the authority?
The authority part is very clear. The governor's own executive staff has made it clear early on in the pandemic that the Emergency Management Agency Act is silent when it comes to enforcement. And when it's silent when it comes to enforcement, you rely on the laws and the statutes that are currently in place. So they know all of this stuff. That was out in the legal brief when we were doing a lot of the pushbacks early on against the circumventing due process on closing down bars and restaurants and things of that nature. So this legal opinion is out there already. As far as the governor's ability to perpetuate these emergency situations, that's one of the only things that the courts actually have weighed in on in his favor. The lower courts have, and some people are trying to use this as arguments that we have lost in court on this because the lower courts ruled that he can basically extend these emergency executive orders in perpetuity, which is a terrible ruling which will eventually be overturned, I think. But they have never weighed in on the explicit case law of Section 7 of the Emergency Management Agency Act, which he cites in the executive order on whether or not he has these authorities, and that means that the act only has the explicit powers that are granted, and there's no explicit powers granted in that act.
So our audience can tune in. You guys are going to do a Facebook event tonight with many representatives, Representative Calkins, Representative Holbrook, Representative Miller, Senator Bailey, yourself, and I think I missed one.
And Representative Niemeyer.
And, Adam, sorry, Adam. I'm sure Adam's listening to Cities 92.9. But I've been...
and he's very offended.
That's right, yes. So I've been promoting your event already, and I've had some pushback a little bit from, or I shouldn't say, Facebook might be giving you a little pushback. Are you aware of that on this event already?
I am not the one that's responsible for putting the event stuff together on Facebook, so I wouldn't know about that. It certainly wouldn't surprise me on there. I'm just focused on making sure that we get this information in a way that is consumable for everybody to know exactly where we stand on this, and that we do not have to cede our local authority, our parental authority to this governor that is making decisions based on furthering a political narrative, not on what's best for the citizens of Illinois, and especially the kids that have disproportionately borne a lot of the burden of a lot of these policies over the last 18 months.
I don't think you're called a governor if you are ruling on behalf of 11.7 million people, and you're the sole authority for all of us who have children or grandchildren or neighbors. I think it's, Blaine, we support you here on my show. Kat and I do. And so if there's anything we can do to promote the event, we're going to put it out on our City's 92.9 page so our audience knows that tonight at 7 o'clock, you guys are going to be unveiling the information, the truth about masks still being optional for these schools as a viable alternative to what the governor is proposing.
That's absolutely correct. You can tune in at 7 o'clock. It's going to be simulcast on all of our Facebook feeds there, so we'll be able to find it. And please watch and share it, and more importantly, share the information that we're putting out. Neither political party is doing a good job for the citizens of Illinois on actually putting the actionable information out there for these local school board members and for the parents in Illinois. The governor has put both of them in a terrible situation. So anything that we can do to empower these folks to make the decisions that they all know is in the best interest of the kids, we're 100% on it.
Well, we know that at some point you, as a legislator, will be called back into session, and hopefully that is sooner than later to actually do what the people of Illinois have elected you to do, which is create laws on behalf of the people, not on behalf of the governor. Hey, once again, I know you've got a lot to do in order to prepare for tonight. Blaine, we appreciate you coming on Cities 92.9, and if ever, open invitation, you have the number, call in anytime.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you guys.
Well, we appreciate you, Blaine. Take care now. All right, well, there you have. As I was saying earlier in the show, I don't do near the job that a representative does. He has such a cadence. He understands the law. Blaine's been doing this now for 2 terms. He, as Darren and Chris Miller and Brad Holbrook and Dan Calkins and Adam, the newest addition, are all like-minded. Mm-hmm. They didn't run to be a representative or a state senator because they wanted to make a career out of it, because they wanted to compromise, to reach across the aisle. That, to them, they saw how broken it was, and it continues to be. You talk about, I love that term, a dumpster fire on wheels. I mean, it's not even a dumpster fire on wheels. I mean, it is so unbelievable.
Why reach across the aisle when that's not what the people want? Your constituents, if they want to have the power back in their hands as parents, and if they don't want to be told what to do when it comes to their bodies and to their kids' bodies, then why reach across the aisle? You weren't elected to play nice with your friends up in the Capitol. Mm-hmm. You weren't elected to be friends with all of your little representative pals. You were elected to represent me.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it is, and I saw this firsthand, Kat, running for office for state representative twice, and of course then there's this thing with the town council, which I'm so thankful for, because it, once again, is exposed, continues to expose what is going on in not only our local governmental systems, because we're seeing it manifested in our school boards. This is why it's important to be actionable. As Blaine said, get out and do these things. But I saw it firsthand down in Springfield. You know, when we talk about the power of a Mike Madigan, there was not one representative on the Democrat side. And you know what sad thing is, on the Republican side, Jim Durkin and the minority leaders, they willed power to the House Republican organization. So I'm not just jumping down on the Democrats here. But Madigan especially, though, no one held a position as a representative in the state of Illinois without Mike Madigan's approval, because he knew that he was going to dictate how you legislated, which is really unfair, because that's not the people's voice. That's Mike Madigan. There's a great video out there. If you get a chance, YouTube, it's called Madigan Rules. It's still applicable today, even though the speaker or the ex-speaker has stepped out of the limelight, because I, like Kat, don't believe that he he has both of his hands fully vested in orchestrating what is going on currently to date. He does have political power. He does have political credibility amongst his party. So he's not out of the equation by any means. On the other side of the aisle, the House Republican organization, Jim Durkin, as the minority leader of the House, he too is instrumental in making sure certain people are in there. These guys that we're talking about, Blaine Wilhauer, Adam Nieberg, Brad Hallbrick, Dan Calkins, Chris Miller, Darren Bailey, they are not controlled by minority leader Durkin, and he can't stand it. And they are making more inroads of providing information. Blaine said something interesting, and I hope the audience realizes this. I know that the line was a little crackly at times and a little feedback, Blaine calling in from so far away. But, it's critical with these guys, and they take it seriously. They know what's at stake. They know what's ahead of us in legislating from Springfield as the minority party. They understand what we're up against. They know that in order to get their voice out, we rely upon you as our audience to share their information so they can speak to us about these things that we would never hear about. We would never hear about the Illinois Emergency Act if it wasn't for people like Blaine and for those that really don't agree. Hey, we're going to wrap this up. Our show is just, I can't even believe we're up against the end of our show already today. Come back. We're here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. And we hope they don't censor our friends Blaine Wilhauer, Dan Calkins, Chris Miller, Adam Nieberg, Darren Bailey. Did I miss one? Brad Hallbrick, I think. But anyhow, these representatives, as we were talking about, and if you're just joining us here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal, we're here from 1 to 3. And across the way is Kat Peterson. She joins me, too, here every Sunday from 1 to 3. In fact, you're even going to get an extra.
You're going to get extra of DPB and Kat on Saturday, 5 to 7. We will be here, and we're going to talk all things rhinos, Darren Bailey.
Yes.
My governor.
She will be filling in for Steve Cease.
I will be.
He's not going to be here next Saturday, and his show will actually be moving to Sundays at some point here in the not-too-distant future, and I know you're going to hear more about that. Ty Smith is with us on Saturdays, but it's Ty's from 3 to 5, right?
Yep, 3 to 5, Ty Smith, and then right after Ty, it's going to be myself and David Paul Blumenshine.
That will be next Saturday. We will be following
Yes.
Ty Smith. Boy, I better
Well,
get...
technically this Saturday, because today's Sunday, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And the week starts with Sunday in some calendars.
Oh, yes, that's
so
right.
we
Yep,
can't.
next
So you're right.
Saturday.
It is just this Saturday, or no, next Saturday. Well, I'm confused. Hey, I understand that we've covered a lot today, and we try to pack it into 2 hours, and you're out there probably going, "Oh my gosh, this seems to be something that is." You guys seem to be talking about it's doom and gloom. It's not really doom and gloom. Never before in the history of our country have we had a better opportunity to truly solidify what it means to be an American, what it means to live in Illinois. I believe the best is yet to come. I'm confident of that. I know that. And Darren Bailey says it best. Senator Darren Bailey, soon to be Governor Bailey. He says it best when he says that what is happening here, what we see manifested right here in Illinois, at the school board level, at the local government level, at the state, is going to happen in other states. Now, granted, we know there are some real staunch opposition to some of this, especially in the form of Governor DeSantis, where he called out Joe Biden, President Biden, this week and said, "I'm standing. You're going to go through me."
Yeah.
You're going to go
That's
through
the way
me.
local government should work. That's why we have governors. That's why we have school boards. That's why we have local government. So that way big government doesn't... The whole founding of America was off this idea that we didn't want big government. So why do we have Screechers and Pritzker going blatantly against it?
And that's what Blaine was saying, is the law shows that he doesn't have the authority. The Emergency Act, the Illinois Emergency, I'm getting that wrong. The Illinois
Management.
Yeah, IEMA, the Illinois Emergency Management Act. Thank you, Kat. I had to get that all out. But it's hard, and it's hard for you. I understand that as our audience, because there's so many acronyms. ISBE, the IDPH, the IEMA. And it's really word salad for a reason. They want you confused so that when they come out in public in front of you and start wielding all of this terminology that you don't understand, you say, "Gosh, they must be doing something." No. They're creating more layers of government, more bureaucracy, more swampiness.
More confusion.
More confusion. You don't need to be confused. At the end of the day, tune in tonight, 7 o'clock. Go to any one of those representative pages. You can, and I'm going to give you the list here in a second.
And go to our Facebook page, and that event will be posted there as well.
And we are going to put it up there. That's right. And as Blaine Wilhauer stated, we've got Representative, first Senator Darren Bailey, soon to be Governor Bailey, Representative Calkins, Representative Holbrook, Representative Miller, Representative Niemerg, and Representative Wilhauer. At 7 o'clock tonight, they're going to talk about masks are still optional. We need to know what our actions should be going into the school year. Once again, if they get open and they basically follow these mandates, we are not anti-vax, we are not anti-mask, we are anti-mandate, meaning we are the parents. They are our children. They are our grandchildren. They are our nieces and nephews. We have the authority, not you, Governor Pritzker. We are the authority in our households. We live in a free state. Hey, we appreciate you joining us here at Cities 92.9. I know that was a lot today. Come back next week. Actually, tune in on Saturday and catch Kat and I. We will be here. Thanks again. Talk to you then.